So I just called the DMV to get an appointment for a renewed ID. I'm going to explain why that's so important, why it could be life or death, or even matter if you get health care or not. And it could result in my death and contribute to what is killing me. Because if I don't have an ID, I won't be able to pick up my medications. I won't be able to use shelters, even if I am allowed to use a shelter, what I'm usually not. I'm not able to get any services whatsoever, no food stamps. And if a police officer finds me without an ID, it's more likely to be an arrest. So, with that being known, what happened when I called the DMV? Well, let me tell you what the last thing I said to them was. These systematic issues with your policies and with many other policies with doctors and agencies are literally contributing to my death. And that was it. That was the last words I said. So, what did he say to get me to say that? If I'm just calling to get an appointment, I called. I have till July 10th actually. I usually it's the issuing date when you have to go back in. So I thought I had until like January or February or March or something. I thought I had to 4:30. I thought that was the original date, but that's actually the issuing. So I have till my birthday in July to try to get in there. So I called them. Now the problem is I'm getting thrown out of my housing. Why? I have a job I'm not allowed to go back to. I'm qualified for Social Security that somebody else already collected and lied about. And I have disabilities that aren't being treated. So I'm not allowed to make any money whatsoever, meaning I'm not allowed to pay my bills unless I got another job, but there's a problem. I've now injured myself going back to work injured because that's how I kept this apartment going is I just kept on working long hours while getting injured, while being pulled out of my job in ambulances, while getting injured on the way into work, while getting injured on the way home from work, just all different types of injuries. And now, if I try to reach for 3 days for cigarettes and stand up for 8 hours and 3 days in a row, let's say I work 1 to 3 days. The problem is I can't stand up more than an hour. I can't reach cigarettes more than a couple times up high before I'm unable to even unbend myself off the ground. I'm not able to lift or bend at all, meaning I can't get under the cabinets. I only can do that once or twice a day, and then I get really bad pain. So, knowing that I'm not able to do these things, and I'm having epileptic seizures, and if I make the pain worse, the shakes and the seizures get worse, making it so I can't use a register. If we have these problems that can be easily treated, then we need to get me treatment from a doctor. We need to get me medical paperwork, and then I can return to work. But doctors have never once made me better. So far, doctors have been good at malpracticing me and injuring me. The best I've ever got is pills prescribed, and they're usually half assed pills. The doctors know that something would help me 100%, and they'll avoid it only because it's something new, it's something that hasn't been done before. So they always fall back on what other doctors have already done before. So, what have doctors already done about my illness before? Well, they've malpracticed me. They prescribe me medications I don't need. They've prescribed me many medications I don't need. Well, how about Xanax? Did they ever give me Ativan? Like when I'm in an ambulance after a seizure, they give me Ativan in the arm, 2 shots, and it does a great job. So have they ever tried that? Well, no, they only gave me high doses of Xanax, and my mother was stealing them. And it was for anxiety, and the doctors cut it off because my mother was stealing them. And then they were starting to work and help me with something else. So at the age of 12, I wondered if they would help me. So I tried to take a double dose, but I didn't get that far because they found the pills on me before I could get them in the program. I found my mother's old stash she was swallowing, so I put a couple in a bag and tried to sneak them into a program so I could try like two, and it didn't work. So we have that. That's my mistake. But have the doctors ever actually tried to prescribe me anything for the shakes, for the epilepsy, for the falls, for the coordination? Have I ever been brought to a neurologist for a couple of years so they can talk to me about that night my body changed? Or have they ever investigated why the teachers saw a sudden change in my writing, my speech, and the way I walk? Did they ever talk to me about that night and the weeks coming after the overdose? Did they ever try to? Nope, 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 and nope. It's always just drugs I don't need. It's always give him Thorazine, give him Seroquel, give him lithium, give him Ritalin, give him Xanax. Oh, the mother now wants him on Zyprexa. Why? No reason. Oh, let's not give it to her then. Well, she keeps on asking for more and more pills. We got to give her something. Okay, give her a combo of Trazodone, Xanax, and Thorazine with a little bit of Seroquel. Then add in Lamictal and Risperidone, and then we'll get sandwiches for lunch delivered to us because the pharmaceutical companies give us bonus lunches when we give out more pills than we need to. And that's a real thing, by the way. So, anyways, yeah, I'm fucked. Well, unless my family is honest and works with me, but at this point, they've already cost me my apartment. If we handled this 3 years ago, the landlord wouldn't be going insane mad. But I was forced to report this. I went to code enforcement. I said there's bed bugs, hole in windows. But this isn't the first time. We've been reporting code enforcement issues for years now. It's just that we had to push it because we're already getting thrown out and we have no money for him. So he's pissed off and he wants money. Well, you can't get money out of a rock. So what we did is we asked to hold our rent for these reasons. And because we filed to hold our rent, then the landlord lost his fucking mind. Now, the landlord would have never lost his mind if there wasn't a crazy old man spending his rent money and my father cutting off doctors. But see, these people don't understand. If I go to work, you think my manager understands that we have a broken system and I can't get medical care? She's used to walking in the doctors and having a doctor. When I walk into the doctors, weird shit happens. When I come back with paperwork that says I'm excused from gym class, that's supposed to be a do not lift order, my managers laugh and go, your doctors are nuts. Why do they keep on malpracticing you? And I've had hundreds of people see this. They don't understand why doctors won't help me. They said, we can see your disabilities right in front of us. How can the doctors not be seeing this? You got black piss coming out of your penis and the doctor, and it's on camera, and the doctors still don't want to help you. You got a bleeding internally that they can see for themselves and they still don't want to help you. Your organs are moving around unusually and now you look like you gained weight instantly, but instead they go, oh, that's probably always been there, and the doctors still don't help you. You have a seizure on the side of the road and you're found bloody over 20 times. And multiple hospital rooms have seen you like this. No drugs, no drugs, no drugs, no drugs. But yet they still don't do anything but drug testing and release you. Why? For the last 25 years. Has it just been one? I mean, I know when this started. I know what it feels like. I know, I mean, obviously the night it happened to me, I started feeling it. You can feel this in your body. It's like if you stub your toe, you know you stubbed your toe. And if you stub your toe and your toe hurts for 10 years, you remember when it started hurting and you remember what happened. If you stub your toe at age 7 and your toe turns black and it still hurts 25 years later and the doctors still aren't treating you, you are still going to know that your toe got stubbed 25 years ago. It turned black. It hurts. And you know that it's black. It hurts, and when it got stubbed. I know 25 years ago I experienced some pill issues with my mother. I lost my vision, my nervous system got fried, there was a sudden change in my body. Teachers saw this, they saw a sudden change in my body. The doctors were hearing about it. Everybody was trying to help me with physical therapy, speech therapy. My mother was more interested in things like ballet and tap dancing, or having me wear tights or skirts or whatever, or getting me made fun of at school for ballet because the other girls go to my school. Well, how is that supposed to help a neurological disorder after an overdose? I mean, my mother knows that she slipped me pills and I had a reaction. She also knows that's when my body changed. So, I mean, my mother used to be a nurse, so she knew what was going on. But did she tell my father? No. Did my father know? No. He was hiding. He was hiding from the truth. He rather believe my mother's fantasies and ignore when she was acting crazy. Like, for instance, tell me if this sounds crazy to you. Stealing an orphan's accomplishments, taking his swimming medals away from him, with nothing but your own fantasies to back it. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. Adopting a child and having him for only 2 years, and then that child shows you a swimming medal from the orphanage, and because you never saw it, You take it from him and say it must be a little African American boy's medal? No, that's screwed up shit. Okay, how about another one? My mother throws away a little orphan boy's toys. So you adopt a little orphan boy, he's 5 years old. He has toys in his room. Some from the orphanage, some you bought him. Some are from McDonald's, whatever. He goes to school after you have him make his bed. When the kid comes home, all his toys are thrown away. Why did the mother throw them away? She said it's because the kid likes the toys better than her. She goes to me, and I said, why did you throw away my toys? My mother goes, it's because you like the toys better than me. And she always had this attitude like I'm out to get her or something. And so I just cry and cry and cry. My father hears this. He hears my mother threw away my toys. He hears about it's because I like them better than her, she says. But then she lies to my father saying it's because I didn't clean my room. Now, was my room not clean? No, it was clean. Does my father try to remember that my bed was made and my room was clean when I went to school? No, he doesn't give a fuck. No, my father goes, okay then, back to supper. All Zach's toys got thrown away. Now, do I care about some fucking toys at the age of 32? No. I care about these behavioral issues that my mother had that were being ignored. And she was exhibiting these behaviors at Social Security. She was feeding my doctors information to get me malpracticed. And she did this for 15 years while preparing to avoid responsibility if I ever figured out what she was doing. Well, she thought I already figured it out. She thought I was out to get her, and I already knew because I was already bringing up some parts of it to the doctors. I already said my mother was acting crazy, and I talked about this overdose quite a bit at the doctors, but it was considered an allergy attack, my mother kept on saying, until she said, oh, I don't remember. So, of course, what I care about is the future, my children's future. How are my children going to have any future if I'm not allowed to ever make a dollar? I'm not ever allowed to get better, and I have to live in a hole in the woods, keeping it moving for the rest of the short life I have. How the hell are my children ever going to get fed? How am I ever going to get my wife back? How am I ever going to do anything with somebody actively trying to cut off the things I need to survive? And remember, this started 25 years ago when I was age 7. So they got a head start on it. It's not like I'm like, oh, well, you didn't do anything about it. Nope, I did everything I could, but I was underage. I had no power in the situation. It's not like I had any choice in it. My mother and father made these choices, and now I have to fight for my life and try to undo their mistakes and the things they did to me. I have to try to convince the doctors to open up an investigation to clear the fraudulent medical records. And I need to let Social Security know that the case that was already done is not 100, it's faulty. If the mother's making up stories and illnesses to doctors, then the Social Security Administration obviously was lied to. And if I ever need Social Security in the future, it's going to be difficult for me to collect anything. And at this point, my father just wants to make that nothing. He wants to take it all. He wants to take everything from me. If I ever go on Social Security and they want to use his numbers again, no, he'll say, no. You use my numbers when I'm getting money off of this kid. But when that kid's getting money to support his family and our grandsons, fuck it. No, those grandsons can die. Fuck our grandsons. Fuck our son. He's not real blood anyways. Fuck him. Suck it all dry. Give it to me. Yeah, give me his Social Security again. What, you want to use my numbers to give it to him? No. Fuck no. You're not using my numbers. No. And if you use my numbers, that means all the money is mine. If I pay anything in taxes, that means all the Social Security is mine. This is the type of attitude I continue to hear from my father, and he doesn't realize how ridiculous he sounds when he does it. When I tell my father, hey, the check with my name on it, the $980 check with my name on it, that was meant for my clothing, my food, my housing. That was a check that goes to orphans and foster kids and goes to all of them. When I was in programs, all the kids got one in the Haverhill program. And when I was in the Lawrence program, all but 3 kids got a Social Security check. And I was one of the 3 kids that did not get one until I realized my father was just lying and stealing his way into some money. That was a big problem because I was supposed to be with the other kids doing classes and I was supposed to be paying $600 rent. So there's a bunch of crap like that. There's a bunch of that getting in the way of me just raising my family. I'm 32 years old. It's time for me to find a wife, settle down, find a good apartment, go to the South, get medical care, have a family, move on. And if I can't have children, because my mother, oh, by the way, my mother most likely made it so I'll never have children. She gave me so many pills that most likely were womanly pills, opiates, drugging me with so many pharmaceuticals, getting doctors to drug me with so many pharmaceuticals, that it seems like my testicles cannot produce sperm or much of it. It seems like I have extremely low sperm count. Extremely low. Or something definitely wrong there. Now, we don't know that that's my mother, but we do know experimenting with children's bodies who are developing from the age of 7 all the way to 19, slipping them pills that he's not prescribed, and most of those pills being prescribed to a woman going through menopause and that has access to opiates and all different types of crazy things. A mother who's willing to overprescribe and make up stories at doctors, that has a good chance of killing your children's sperm so that I can never have children. So if I cannot have children and the little bit of sperm I can produce, the little drop that comes out, if that means that I can't produce sperm, if that is true and I'm barren, I'll have to adopt. And why will I have to adopt? Most likely because of all the drugs I was given through my childhood while I was developing. If you give your developing teenage son menopause medication, there might be a chance he won't have a testicle that works. You can't do stuff like that. And my mother, she was slipping me pills like crazy. And a lot of them were drowsy pills. But a lot of the other ones, like on Halloween, did a lot of weird shit to me. I don't know what she was slipping me, but I had an overdose at age 7, and that seemed like opiates. I think she slipped me opiates that reacted with the other drugs that she was already giving me. So with like 4 different pills added with an opiate, shit like that, I had a wicked bad reaction. But other times, it seemed like it was more drowsy, like a Thorazine or something, like before my adoption or stuff like that. And then other times, it seemed like stuff to make me vomit. And then other times, stuff that would make me pale, weak, feel really weird and tingly, and then sick to my stomach, but not vomit. And I have no idea what these pills were she was slipping me, but it was very obvious that there was stuff she was mixing into my regular pills. I mean, I would take my regular pills for 3 days, none of this would happen. My mother wouldn't be getting her way. She would slip me pills, I would get sick, and because I'm sick, my mother would get her way. I'm not allowed to go out. She gets her way because I'm sick. And I got sick from whatever pills I was just handed. And then the next day, I don't get sick from the pills anymore. The next day, I don't get sick from the pills. So I get sick from pills only when my mother needs to get her way. Well, there's a very good chance I'll never have children now. And nobody has a problem with this. In the last 25 years, I'm 32, I haven't heard any authorities. I haven't heard the Department of Health, or I haven't heard much of anybody doing anything to help me. Usually they help the killers. Usually they try to give more money to my father while I get cut off from clothing or services. Like when I was living in Haverhill. The state of Massachusetts worker. There was an unregistered gun in the house. My mother slapping me around with a stick. She's lying to doctors. She's slipping me pills. I'm living in a program in Haverhill, and I need clothing. The program's making it very clear that every kid but me goes clothing shopping once a month, and I need $20 or any amount every month so I can go clothing shopping with them. But my father says 0 is necessary. I'm getting made fun of by other orphans calling me the raggedy kid. The kid who has either extra large clothes or the father buys him shorts and I outgrow them, but my father says they're still good, they're only a little above the knee. So those things happen, and my father goes, no, I buy you great clothes. I buy you church clothes, and I buy you leather shoes for church, and I bought you cowboy boots, and I bought you a new bathrobe and pajamas. I buy you plenty of socks. We just bought you 100 socks. But he doesn't realize that I need to be able to do my own clothing shopping. I'm 16 years old. I've been in this program for 4 years, whatever, and I've never gone clothing shopping with my clothing check. I don't even know I'm getting a clothing check. The program tells me to go ask my father why I don't get a clothing check. Then my father lies. The truth was, my father was getting my clothing check. My clothing check from the state gets added into my Social Security, and my father collects that Social Security. So the $200 that the other kids got as a clothing check from the state, these are kids, foster kids, kids with no parents, kids with adopted parents, things like that. When these things happen, the clothing check gets added to Social Security. But if you don't have any Social Security and you're like a orphan in a program, you get a $200 clothing check every month, and that's all you get. You don't get any other money. You don't get any money for housing, food, toys, none of that. You get 200 a month. That's it. You get to live in the program. They feed you, they transport you, they decide what doctor you go to. See, they do bring you to the doctors. If you fall on the ground and you're shaking because of pain, they'll bring you to the doctors. If you fall on the ground during fireworks show and you can't get up and you're screaming, "Let's go out of here, I need it," they'll bring you to the hospital. If you have an overdose on a pile of newspapers and you can't get up and your breathing slowing down and you try to scream for help but you can't stand up, they bring you to the emergency room and they get you a primary care to see. But my mother, she lets me sleep it off. She lets me suffer, and then she just brings me to a psychiatrist, gives them a bunch of stories about how she thinks I'm autistic or depressed or whatever, and then I get over medicated, and my mother continues to slip me medications I'm not prescribed, and I never get help for my physical disabilities like epileptic seizures, falls, on the lack of ability to use my legs at times, and my speech can recover with just one medication. My walking can recover. All these things can recover very easily if the doctors just listen to me and they do as I ask, and then they clear out all the bullshit so that when I move to another state or when I have another seizure, we never go through this 10 years of circles because my father and mother have created a big problem with my medical records to cut off any doctors from helping me in the first place. So we need to clear that up so doctors know they actually need to help me in this way instead of malpracticing me in a different way. But that requires honesty from my family and my family sucking it up and working with me. And if they're going to cost me my housing, I'm still going to need a mailing address, a phone line, and stay by heat. That is very necessary. That's a necessity. And if I'm not going to be living in heat during winter, if I'm going to be getting harmed and injured and having surgery to remove my intestines because I'm not able to poop for 3-4 days and then it gets stuck or whatever happens, I have more seizures and more head injuries, I die, they run over my arm and I lose my arm, that will be caused by only one thing: my father waking up every single morning and deciding to let this machine kill me. He created a machine with my mother. He went into the doctors, he went into Social Security, and he made a decision to lie on paper over and over and over. He might not know that his wife was lying, but he signed off on it anyways. And because you signed off on lies, now you have to sign off on the truth. Now my father just has to sign off on the truth, and I get to live. But if my father is only willing to sign off on fantasies that hurt another kid's child, if that's all my father's willing to do, is sit there while my mother makes up stories and causes serious harm to my internal organs, if that's all he can do, he doesn't have the strength to tell the truth and sign off on the truth so his son can live a healthy life and raise his family. If that's not something that he wants to do, he'd rather just double down on hurting the son and making up stories instead. If he's willing to sign off that his son's just some crazy lunatic making up stories, then I get to die. But if he's willing to sign off on the truth, hear the truth out, and then sign off on it, just like he signed off blindly with his wife. I mean, remember, my father walked in with my mother acting crazy and signed off on some of the craziest shit you ever heard about, like putting me in a cabin in New Mexico, or moving to Texas, or my mother wanting to experiment with my body, or my mother wanting to put me on massive amounts of drugs, or my mother calling a swimming medal some problem, or my mother wanting to lie about throwing shoes at my head. My father remembered that she threw a shoe at my head, but my mother says it was all a fantasy. She never threw a shoe at my head. But my father was sitting there quietly, just nodding his head, agreeing with his wife, even though he saw her do it as well. So, of course, he's going to sign off on fantasies and lies, but now he has to sign off on the truth, and he's not willing to. And my brother, he was willing to tell the truth and say my mother was crazy to my family members only. Now he needs to repeat the same things he told me throughout my life to the people where it matters. He needs to tell my doctors and Social Security and attorneys that my mother was completely gonzo and was unable to handle medications. My sister heard my mother admit that she thought it was okay to give extra medications as punishments and that she gave me extra Epicac and these type of things. Well, now they'll have to sign off that they know my mother was completely unable to prescribe medications without getting me hurt. If they all sign off on this, just like they allowed my mother to be signed off on hurting me, then I get to live a normal life. But they all rather run away, leave the sign off that they already have, and let it kill me.